Happy Pride, everybody. Well, you may have noticed something a little different today. I've got this wonderful, sparkly stole. I think somebody stole the same material for that lovely dress over there. This actually has an Indigenous connection. Last time I was here, the first Sunday of June, we met upstairs because there was an Indigenous fashion festival and they were using the church, the nave of the church, as a staging point. Well, I went over with my sister and my husband after we had lunch, and there was an Indigenous marketplace. And they had all sorts of wonderful Indigenous creators from all over Turtle Island, Central America, down into South America. And this one thing sort of jumped out at me. I saw it hanging there and I thought, wow, that's just what I'm looking for. Maybe a little more sparkly than I'm used to. When you're 71, you've got to do something. And so it was made by a person in Ecuador. So that's the Indigenous connection. Last Sunday at St. Peter's, I preached for National Indigenous Day of Prayer. So I'm part of a study group there. So the connections that we make are really, really important because I think they all converge around the issue of oppression, freedom, and hope. And the rainbow is, of all things, a wonderful symbol of hope. Hope. You know, we've been doing this a long time, haven't we? I mean, I've been coming here since 1994, but I was embraced by the community. They formed a support group when I was fired by the bishop for being gay and having a boyfriend. And I've been I spent 20 years out in the wilderness before the bishop, the new bishop, finally decided to let me back in. So hope is a very important word for me personally, and I'm sure it is for a lot of people here. None of us can live without hope. Now, we may all hope for different things, but in the end, it's hope that drives us forward, that keeps us going. And so, I say to myself, oh, James, this is a long time doing the same thing. Is it really necessary? Why are we doing this? Because it is still necessary. We can celebrate all the wonderful progress that we've made. I can celebrate my personal release from captivity. We can celebrate the fact that marriage of same-sex partners is the law of the land. And 7 years ago, June and I were married in the church at St. Peter's. Some of you were there. And so there's a lot to celebrate. But this morning, as the alarm radio woke me up, I heard something that reminded me that we've still got a long way to go. They were interviewing someone about to us LGBTQ plus rights and freedoms. And the ACLU in the United States has been tracking the number of pieces of legislation, anti-LGBTQ plus legislation that had been introduced in the US in the various states, municipalities, federal government, and so forth. 10 years ago, there were 40. 2023, there were over 500. Over 500. It's hard to believe that people want to demean us and exclude us so much. It's almost as though we're the chosen enemy once again. Even more startling was the figure for this year. So from January to June, 500 more pieces of legislation. Now, some of them have passed, some of them have not. And every member of the community, in one way or another, is targeted. You know, some are trying to outlaw same-sex marriage, various things affecting gay men, lesbian women, bisexuals, and so forth. But it seems the great target of choice today is the trans community. And so, you know, people are getting used to the idea that two persons of the same assigned gender might wish to be intimate, to have love, perhaps to marry. People are getting more accustomed to that. But the idea that adults and children whose gender identity is dissonant between their assigned identity and who they are inside has become such a big issue, such an enormous target. And we've all seen that happening here in Canada as well, from New Brunswick to Alberta and Saskatchewan, where they're arguing over what pronouns people can use. You know, whose business if you want to have people call you she or he or they? You know, you're still a human being. You're still part of the community. You're worthy of love and of being treated with full equality and full welcome. So today we have to balance out the celebration. And, you know, I'm here to celebrate. Absolutely. You know, I think of all that we've been through together as a parish, the number of people whose lives have been so badly affected by the church and society and by government, and how people like Joyce and Allison, myself, and many of you sitting here today and online have been able to push the envelope again and again and again. And you know, those of you who are allies have created, I think, a community of hope. We can come here and there's absolutely no question about who the person is who's with us, you know, or who we are. We are fully human, and you, according to your baptismal promise, you respect the dignity of every human being. That's what this place is about. And that's the leadership that Church of the Holy Trinity has given. You know, some years ago when I was in high school, I was in the high school musical in grade 9. I must have been 15. It was Finian's Rainbow. Are any of you familiar with Finian's Rainbow? It's a Broadway musical from 1947. It's a story about an Irish immigrant by the name of Finian who brings his daughter to America, and she doesn't know it, but he's stolen a leprechaun's pot of gold. And we all know that in Irish legend, there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And if you can just find the end of that rainbow, you can get the pot of gold. And so he comes to America with the idea that he can live near Fort Knox, where all the gold is buried in the ground. And he can bury this pot of gold there, and somehow it will multiply, and he'll become fabulously wealthy. Well, it was quite a story, you know. It's a bunch of hokum, really. Um, that at the end of a rainbow could be something like that. But for him, it was a symbol of hope. Maybe not hope for the right thing, but kind of, hope for prosperity, to get out of poverty. And people need to be able to have hope for that. I remember this one theme that we were singing every once in a while during this musical. Look, look, look to the rainbow. Follow it over the hill and the stream. Look, look, look to the rainbow. Follow the fellow who follows a dream. Now, it's sweet, kind of hokey, but there's an important message there. We all need to follow that dream that's grounded in hope. Hope for a better future. Hope for friendship, for love, for acceptance. To find a place where we feel we belong. Hope is about all those things and so many others. You can, I'm sure, think of different things that you hope for or that you have friends who hope for. And so, it was an interesting experience. I've got to say, we were all done up in blackface. This was the American South. It was 1968, and nobody thought a thing about it. Now, today, we'd look at that with horror. How could you do something so racist, dressing up in blackface? And, it says something to us about how easily we and society can simply coast along without realizing what we're doing to other people. The ways that we exclude them or make them feel small or different or subhuman. The one thing that happened during that musical, I can remember well, was we were in dress rehearsal and the director called everyone together and told us that Martin Luther King Jr. had just been assassinated. It was just a shocking moment. And we all had to stop and think very deeply about what it was we were doing. Of course, the show must go on, but we carried that with us throughout. Who can forget that famous speech during the March on Washington? I have a dream. I have a dream. Well, today we celebrate because we have a dream. We have a dream of equality, of belonging, of having our love valued. of being able to stand proudly together. And we can hold on to that dream and make it come true by banding together, by marching down the street. Or in 1993, we tied a pink ribbon around Queen's Park Legislature building. Now, that was quite an event. But the thing is, we do it together because there's strength and support in numbers. That's why we gather here Sunday by Sunday, to experience love, support, and acceptance. So today I say, I continue to have a dream. I'll hold on to that dream until the day I die, and it'll keep me going. And I hope that you too will catch that dream or hold on to that dream, and even in your darkest moments, see it there glimmering like a rainbow on the horizon and say, yes, there's hope. We're moving forward. Amen.